don't think people actually have a fear of failure anymore. They have a fear of being embarrassed.
Where did this come from? Why are you so passionate about branding?
It's not that I fell in love with branding. I fell in love with the toolkit to build a bigger and greater life.
What should we delegate? What should we not delegate?
I really hesitate in telling people they can delegate their voice. People see right through that. You don't have to have the resources to delegate anything. You can build a great brand today using your phone. Someone's going to say, hey, you're the one who, and they're going to describe you exactly as you've always wanted to be described. And it's going to happen sooner than you know it.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be here. Let's do it.
Okay, so you have an awesome new book out. It's your third book. You did it to yourself again.
Yeah. Yes.
Your third book.
Yes.
Brand it like Serhant.
Yes.
Where did this come from? Why are you so passionate about branding?
Honestly, it's not that I fell in love with branding as much as I fell in love with the toolkit to build a bigger and greater life. And what excited me so much about where we are today in 2024 and where we're going to be in the future is it used to be that if you wanted to build a brand for yourself, build a product, build a personal brand, it was just so like, I don't even know where you start. It's so hard. It's hand-to-hand combat, right? There were only a few print advertisements or articles or newspapers or magazines you could be in. There's a few network news shows that you could ever be on. Other than that, you're boots to the ground. Today, it's a different world. Like, you can get lucky. I mean, you could build a brand in a day, right? That goes worldwide. And that's by accident. So imagine what you can do if you actually take control of building awareness for something you care about, which is either your personal awareness, like me, I'm a salesperson. We build brands for buildings we sell, apartments we sell, but really it's about building a personal brand so that people are aware of me and then they want to work with me, right? Because people don't like to be sold. They love shopping with friends. No one wants to work with strangers. And if you're building a product, I mean, it's easier now than ever before. And I just couldn't find a blueprint for it. Like, I couldn't find a manual for it anywhere else. And so I said, okay, here we go. All right, book 3, brand it like Serhant.
Okay, so we work with a lot of different entrepreneurs, and sometimes we get in the rooms and they think that they need to be spending more time on their product, but they haven't built their audience yet. So the first thing is, what comes first when you're thinking of wanting to launch something? Do we focus on personal branding or do we focus on the thing that we want to sell?
Well, I think it depends on what you're trying to build, but I always focus on the people first. So it's the people that are building with you or the people that you are building for. Like, remember, it's the people that are going to be making the purchases. Right? They're going to be making the purchases. They're going to be signing the contracts with you. They're going to be the ones who are doing the word of mouth. It's still the people, right? All the technology and all the tools we have out there are to empower us, right? To empower human beings to interact more with each other and pass along information about you or your product. And so I think if you focus on the right people, then you can build any kind of product, right, that you want. You can make mistakes 1,000 times as long as you got the right people with you. And then once you kind of have that audience, then I think you focus on the product, right? Like, we have a product. One of our businesses is a real estate brokerage. We're headquartered in New York. We have agents across 8 different states now, and we have a technology product called Simple. And I don't know how really to describe it, but it's basically Amazon Prime for salespeople. Okay. And it makes their life much easier, much simpler, if you will. And I could have spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars building that product and then giving it to the people and seeing if it worked. When really we had a simple idea. We created a beta for very, very little money, and we put it out there to our audience to see if they liked it. Like, hey, go break it. don't tell us I know it looks shitty. I know it's terrible. Just what is your opinion to this? And then let's use your feedback to build. And that's actually something I talk about a lot in the book, because I learned that a lot from people we interviewed in Branded Like Serhant. Because I'd never done that before. In my first two books, it's just me and real estate deal war stories and all my pain and trauma and everything I learned from them. In this one, I interviewed like Gary Vaynerchuk, Rebecca Minkoff, Kenneth Cole. I mean, I interviewed so many cool people, and a through line was build through community. Like content to commerce isn't enough anymore. You have to build content to community to commerce, because now anybody in the world can create content, which is good and bad. Anybody in the world can have a Stripe account and start doing commerce, but not everybody can build something or someone up so much that it starts to build a community, and allowing that community to dictate the future of your product or of your personal brand is a huge part of how to build success going forward. And we really dive into that in the book.
So how do we start building a brand that's authentic to us, but while also with like those future offers in mind? Because sometimes you'll see people build something, but they want to offer something else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Always. And products change and people change, right? We all evolve. No one wants to be a one-hit wonder, both as a human, but then also as a product. And so what I created a couple years ago was something I called our Serhant brand strategy system. And it really was about how to create personal brands for the people that worked for me, and then how to create personal brands for products for people that would hire us to do it. And we had this whole system, and I really boiled it down to 3 core phases, right? So 3 phases. And so the book is broken up into 3 easy, digestible phases of how to build a brand. And phase 1 is core identity. So as a person, you have to understand what your and is. So you are podcasting and what? Like, I am real estate and media. If you were to ask anybody who they are, if I go on the street, if I open my door right now, someone's going to stop me and say, "Hey, you're the YouTube, TikTok, TV broker, right?" Okay. So whether I want that to be the case or not, that is my and. I am real estate and media. Once you understand what your and is, you can really kind of narrow down what that core identity is without using your name. Another exercise that a person can do is go to somebody you trust, but not somebody like your parents who are going to be nice to you. Somebody you trust to be authentic and real with you, and tell them, "Can you do me a favor? Can you describe me to a stranger without using my name?" How would you do that? What is it? What would that look like? Be open and honest. Like, it's important for me to know. And so I did this. When the guy goes, yeah, he's that kind of tall, premature, gray-haired guy who thinks he's funnier than he actually is, and he looks at the ground while he walks. And I was like, great, thanks so much. I don't know how that helps me in any way, shape, or form, but it did actually. It did. I was like, "That's how you describe me?" He's like, "Yeah, that's who you are." I'm like, "Are you? That's my brand. My brand is what you just described, which is not where I want it to be." So how do I fix that? There's certain things I can't change how tall I am. I used to dye my hair, and then I got sick of it, so I stopped. So you know what? Maybe the fact that I'm young but have a gray hair is just going to be my thing. So people will think I'm older. Great, no problem. Walking while I stare at the ground, like, I had to dig into that one. I was like, no, I don't. Turns out I did, because for a long, long time, from like 7th grade until I was like 22, I had really, really bad skin. And I think when I was much younger, I would get embarrassed when people would look at me when I was walking, because their eyes would dart around my face. Like, you look at someone in the eye, but then their eyes look to like your chin and your cheek, or they look anywhere. And so it would make me feel bad. And so I just got used to walking while my eyes were on the ground, like Why make eye contact with anybody if it's going to make me feel bad? I guess I just won't do that. And so there were little things about that exercise that taught me things about myself that you ordinarily wouldn't know. And so
Mm.
that helps you build that core identity. And then there's so much more that goes into it, but just like two things to think about. And then you do the math. So brand is your core identity. And the minute you understand what that is, it leaves your lips, it leaves your fingertips, you're typing, you're talking. That becomes perception, right? The perception the world has of you,
Mm.
either for better or worse, as I kind of just went through. Once you leave the room, once you leave the chat, once you make that post and then you put your phone down, people go into the comments, right? People talk about you behind your back. That becomes reputation.
Mhm.
And then, like a pot of water that boils over time, that reputation becomes your brand. It becomes the awareness the world has of you. It becomes, what you're known for. And you can take control of that if you build into it slowly over time. And so that core identity then becomes consistent content, right? That's how we then take control of it. So how are we creating consistency? Am I doing a podcast every week because that's my thing? Am I posting every single day? Am I writing on LinkedIn? Maybe I don't want to go on camera. Maybe I don't want to do any of that stuff. That's fine. Okay. So I want to be a thought leader in yarn. I want to be the thought leader in yarn. Actually, I don't even want to be number one. I just want to sell my yarn. And I want people to know more about yarn and knitting and crocheting than before, because I really, really like that. One of the biggest companies out there on the internet is a guy that sells educational materials on how to take care of orchids.
Mm.
Globally, that guy's website breaks all the time because he's created that niche, right? And
Yeah.
people go, and it's clear. You have no idea what that guy looks like. I have no idea who he is, but I know that his and is guy and orchid caring. That's his thing. And he's leaned into it, and it's consistent content about orchids. And then from there, your third phase is amplification, or like what I like to say, shouting it from the mountaintop. How do you take every single moment of success and turn it into more success? How does success beget to success? And then I just really tried to make the book as tactical as possible. So there's no fluff, like there's no BS. It's all, this is how you get a publicist. This is what you pay the publicist. This is how you work with a publicist. This is how you get PR for free. This is how you work with reporters. This is how you generate awareness. The power of PR, the fall of advertising, right? What it means to push your message onto people versus pull your message into people. What that consistent content looks like. How to use X now. Now that it's not Twitter, how to use TikTok, how to use Instagram Reels and then do it to your benefit, when to be personal, when to be professional, so on and so on and so on. That was
Okay,
a really long answer to your question.
I literally love when people can take it and run with it. But one of the things that you said in the first phase, when you were talking about when you first realized your, part of your identity was, oh, you look down at the ground. So a lot of us have personal brands, and we are kind of like starting to realize maybe there's this blaring part of our brand that we don't love or that we want to change. How did you start changing that into something that you wanted?
Oh, great question. So the first thing I had to do was I had to totally write down everything about me that was my personal brand. At the time, I was a rental real estate agent, and no one knew me as that because I didn't talk about it. Right? I didn't talk about it. And so on the left side of a piece of paper, you write down everything about you that people would use to describe you, for better and for worse. On the right side of the piece of paper, you write down everything you want people to describe you as 24 months from today.
Mm-hmm.
And I found in doing this, and we now teach, we have a education business, and we teach, sales training and coaching and all that. But a big part of that business is brand strategy. And that business only exists because people asked for it. Like, it wasn't like I was like, I'm going to go teach people how to build a brand 5 years ago. It was, we had someone who owns a surgical center in Mumbai come to us and say, I want to generate more business for my surgical center. I need to build a better brand for my surgical center. And I don't want to pay a branding agency. I want to do it by myself. How do I do it? Okay. We'll teach you. We have people that sell advertisements for Formula E race cars in South Korea. We have people, we have beauticians. We have obviously a lot of people in the real estate business because that's what, that's my aunt. That's what people know me for. And so on the right side of that paper, you write down what you want to be known for 2 years from today. That gives you a year to take action and a year to let that pot boil, because a washed pot never boils. That's why they say that. And I found that it takes about 2 years of putting in the work. And then before you know it, you're going to take a left, you're going to take a right, and someone's going to say, hey, you're the one who, and they're going to describe you exactly as you've always wanted to be described. And it's going to happen sooner than you know it. Could happen in 6 months. I just like to be as conservative with timing as possible because you got to put the work in, right? Yeah. That's the one thing that like people don't do a lot is the work. So I took control. I started looking at people in the eye. My skin had cleared up. I had nothing to be embarrassed about anymore. Just started looking people in the eye. I started presenting myself like the person I wanted to be 2 years from today. And so at the time I was a real estate agent who was doing small rentals in Queens, the Bronx, Harlem, and Koreatown where I lived. And I lived in a tiny studio. I shared a bathroom with 16 guys. It was super fun. And I told myself in 2 years, I want to be doing sales. I don't want to be doing small rentals. I want to be doing sales of homes that are over $1 million. I want to have a different suit for every day of the week. I don't want to have to wear the same suit every day. I want to live in an apartment with a doorman. Like I wrote down this whole list of things, and some of it was material, obviously. Like I want to have a better life. Like I want to not be afraid of money. I want to not be scared of losing money. And I want to be on my road towards building an enterprise. And then I think I wrote a bunch of other things like I want to have a girlfriend, stuff like that. And it all happened before Sorry, we're in an active shoot location right now, so we got people coming and going. It all happened before I told myself that it was going to happen. It took some time, but it all happened that way. And so, that's the only way that I know how to actually affect change is to be very, very, very specific, very measured, and write it down and make it so. And then anything is possible.
So when you talk about that list, so you wrote your list of who you want to be and what you want to be, and you were looking at it. Were you looking at it?
Yep.
Okay. And then were you building, how did you go about just structuring like this content that you were going to put out to the world?
So the content changes as your core identity changes. The same content that I create today is not the content I created 10 years ago, right? It's the same for everybody. You change, your life changes, you have a family, everything changes. The cadence in which you post also changes as platforms change. It used to be that it's just Facebook, and Twitter for your thoughts, and then things change, right? Different platforms become available. And also a question I get all the time is how do I know what platform to use for my consistent content phase? Do I use all of them? I don't have the time. My advice is to choose two because each platform has a different audience. But if you have to, it's okay to have one. Like it's okay. Like if you are best in short form vertical video, I think you can do YouTube Shorts and you can do TikTok. You don't have to, but pick one that you use. Like, what are you going to like? If you're building a product brand, one of the exercises that you do that we talk about in the book is you give the product a name, and you humanize it, right? You make it human. Who is the person? Okay, so this hammer. You want to sell hammers. I don't know. I just saw a hammer. So you want to sell hammers. That's your thing. You got really cool hammers and they're different colors. Okay. Is your hammer named Pete? His name is Pete. Where's he from? Do that exercise. That's an exercise you actually do in theater and in like acting classes when you first get started acting is it's hard to pick up a script and say, all right, my character is Bob. All right, Bob talks like this. No, you sit there and you write the biography, you write stories. Like there are major actors, A-list actors who sit and like they'll write full-on novels about their characters. They really just go into the backstory and who they are because that's got to inform how they pick up a cup of coffee, right? Because it doesn't say it on the page, but when Bob was 12 years old, his dad ran over his hand with a tractor and he's always picked up a cup of coffee, a little bit funny. Like that's little things like that go towards character development for your brand too. And so that cadence for how you post and when you post is obviously it's personal preference, but typically you do where your audience is. If you're selling hammers, your audience might be in a different place than if you are selling your coaching business or if you want more people to know about your podcast, right? It's all kind of independently case by case, and I talk in the book about how to determine that.
So when you were starting your personal brand, had you always, and I'm trying to think back to when I first like saw you on the real estate show, but I feel like you've always been pretty true to you. Like you've always woven, and I would say one of your core things about you is that you're funny. Have you always felt like that was easy to weave in? I'm just thinking of people who sometimes they have a personal brand, but they feel like they're not totally being authentic to themselves. Like, how can we start weaving more of ourselves into content?
Yeah. So as part of that first exercise, and one of the things that he said to me was he thinks he's funnier than he is.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and honestly, I remember when Million Dollar Listing first aired, and obviously I've had the benefit of being on a TV show and seeing what my life is like played back to me. Well, I remember my mom called me and she was like, Bud, sometimes the things you think are funny are not funny to other people. And, I don't know. I'm like a millennial who grew up on the North Shore of Boston, was in a fraternity. Apparently some of the things that probably my friends and I grew up thinking were funny I probably should not think are funny anymore. And I didn't know that at the time. You live and you live and you learn. So I try to be as authentic to myself as possible. So like my sense of humor is my sense of humor. Like I know not to be funny at a funeral. I know it's probably not the best to start like popping jokes in the middle of a stressful negotiation or when someone in front of me is losing their money maybe. And I know that that's the time to be sincere. But also the way I know how to get in with people is by helping them smile, right? That's just what's authentic to me. I know a lot of people that aren't funny at all. They like to laugh, but they will never, ever, ever be funny. But the way that they have an in to building character relationships with people is a different way. And so I think you have to be authentic to yourself, but you have to also know the time and place, right? If you are authentically jeans and a t-shirt and a crude sense of humor, and you want to sell a service, you have to understand that if that's the way you're going to present yourself, then you're only going to attract that type of customer. You're only going to get people that are jeans, t-shirt, crude humor. And if that's okay with you, then by all means, just own it. But if you want to cast a wider net, if you want to make more money, if you want to generate lots of types of business, then you don't have to hide who you are. But like I wear a suit, not because I'm forced to, but because I show respect for my customer before I show respect for myself. Like I wear gym shorts right now.
Yeah.
Way more comfortable. But I also don't want to walk into a room with a potential client and have them say, Ryan Serhant wearing gym shorts to come and meet me. He cares more about his comfort than in my needs. So this meeting is going to be quick.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Just in the last 2 years, my husband and I do events and we've decided to like get really dressed up for them. And I'm telling you, the whole audience changed like in a year.
Yeah.
Elevated, which was awesome. And we're like, go figure, you change like your own perception and your whole audience.
Yeah.
So that was
you put yourself, you gotta take that risk and put yourself out there that way. And I think it's completely okay. Now, there's clearly people who have personal brands of gym shorts and jeans and t-shirts and like but it makes sense for them. If you're building a fitness app, like it wouldn't be on brand for you to show up in a suit.
right.
You can for special occasions, but like I don't know if people would take you seriously, and you're maybe that would be your shtick. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's a gag. That's fine. But you want to make sure that what you're doing is on brand while being as authentic to you as possible.
I love that. It goes along with the whole thing that you said, like writing down the 24 months, but showing up as that person right now. And then it's like reality slowly starts to catch up. So as we're building our personal brands, I think one of the things that we can get trapped in is we try to, especially if we're doing a lot, like I know you do a lot and a lot of different people with brands tend to start doing different things. But
Yeah.
what should we delegate? What should we not delegate? Like, what are the absolute most important things for us to stay in within our personal brands?
So great question. I mean, I just want to put it on the record that, as I go through in the book, you don't have to have the resources to delegate anything. Like you can build a great brand today using your phone. That is
Mhm.
it. That's all you need. You need your phone and a willingness to do the work and to put yourself out there. And anything is possible, right? As long as you have consistency, you drive, and it's really what I like to call passion commerce. I see a lot of people try to build their personal brand because they feel like they're supposed to,
Mhm.
or they try to build a product brand because they feel like they're supposed to. But you can tell they'd rather be doing something else,
Mhm.
or this is really not them. Like, I think if you watch any property tours I've done on YouTube or social over the years, like, I am a nerd when it comes to them.
Mhm.
Like, I actually, and it's not even just the real estate. Like, I'm passionate about showing off real estate. I don't know why. I have a problem, but I'm passionate about it. And I think it shows. Like, I think it shows in my energy. I get excited about the views, the price, the finishes. Holy shit, it took you 20 years to build this. And I think that passion can turn into commerce.
Mhm.
And if you can't manufacture that passion, then you have to figure something else out, right? Or find somebody who can be the passion for you. Maybe you're just an unpassionate individual, right? You're just very, very dry, right? You have passion on deep down on the inside, but no one's ever going to see it. Okay. So then the face of your product or your brand, to your question, is somebody that you can delegate that to. You see this a lot in like husband wife brands, right? Like couple brands, spouse brands, best friend brands. There's typically, or like co-founders, right? One person is in the back doing the work, pounding away at the keyboard. The other person is the one who's attracting that passion commerce, who's up front and center. It's like Hugh Grant in 2 weeks' notice. His brother did all the work, but he was the face. Delegating the writing. There's obviously tons of tools now that can help you do that, right? Delegating out the posting. Maybe you have a full-time job, and what you're trying to do is build your brand out of your side hustle, but you don't have time Monday through Friday. Like, you got kids, you've got, your 9 to 5. So maybe on Saturdays before everyone wakes up, that's when you're doing your branded content and you're putting it together, and you have an intern or your son or somebody who's doing the work and posting it on a schedule that you've set up for the remainder of the week. Like, you can delegate that kind of stuff, but I really, really hesitate in telling people they can delegate their voice. People see right through that, right? There's a reason why certain influencers are so large, because you just know, like, they type that themselves. Like, they do not care. It's authentic. It's real. They show you the warts, the beauty, and everything in between. And it makes them human, right? It makes them relatable.
Mhm.
The best brands are the ones that are either the most relatable or the most attainable.
Mhm.
Like Nike, I don't think is the most relatable brand, because I don't think everyone is born a star athlete, but they make it inspirational by making it attainable.
Mhm.
And it makes you want to wear their shoes, wear their shorts, right? Wear their shirts. And you just have to pick your direction, and stick to it.
Mhm. Okay, last question on a lot on pivoting. Essentially, when people have a personal brand and they want to pivot, what
Mhm.
what can that look like to make it graceful as they kind of like change their different careers throughout the years? Because that's a question I get a lot is, I'm about to pivot, I'm nervous that people won't get it or understand, or my audience won't go with me. What does that
Sure.
like having a personal brand pivoting?
You take the audience on the journey, right? You do that the same way I was talking about earlier, of like really building through your community,
Mhm.
building the product with your community, have them be involved. As an example, like the world, or the Bravo audience anyway, and the social media audience knows me as Ryan Serhant, celebrity realtor, the guy from that TV show, right? The gray haired American guy. Like, okay. So in 2019, I said, great, I've now done this for 10 years. I don't just want to sell apartments the rest of my life. I want to do more. I want to go start my own company. That sounds terrible and awesome at the same time. So let's go start our own company. But will the audience really follow me on my CEO journey? Like, will they take me seriously as a CEO? I want to go build tech. I'm obsessed with technology. I've always been obsessed with it, but it's never had its place on $1 Million Listing New York or on my Instagram where I got to dress up like a lion and show real estate off. So will people take me seriously? And I don't think people actually have a fear of failure anymore. Let's say maybe you have a fear of financial failure, like I have that. They have a fear of being embarrassed. And so you fix that by taking the audience on the journey with you and making it relatable, making the fact that this is scary relatable, making the fact that you are taking this change relatable. I think it's a big miss when your audience knows you for X, and then all of a sudden tomorrow you're Y. Like, hey, I made a change, career change, follow me, yay. It's kind of like you didn't earn it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to earn the audience's trust. And if they've been with you on one journey, allow them to influence journey number 2 or journey number 3. Like, I made so much content during that time when I was transitioning from just being a real estate agent to running my own brokerage and starting my own ed tech platform and starting our own production studio all at the same time. It's like, we hired part of my audience. Like, they became we brought them into the company, come help us. Like, we had them influence our brand. We had them influence like the types of content and things we were creating, and we allowed them to be a part of the journey. And it's been super cool to experience, even from my point of view, because I get people who, write to me all the time, even with this book, it comes out, it's my 3rd book. And people are like, listen, I've been with you from the beginning. And they don't say they've been watching me. They don't say, hey, I read your first book. Like, the amount of messages I get and people who stop me on the street who say, I've been with you. I've been with you, man. Remember your first date? Like, yeah, dude, I remember. They're like, I've been with you. You keep it up. You can do it. I know it's hard, because they watch me on video be like, fuck my life. This is so hard. Why does anyone do this to themselves? They've seen me post and, list properties and fail at selling them. And they're like, it's okay. You're going to get the next one. I've been with you. I think that's a very vulnerable position to put yourself in, but I think it's also the most rewarding long-term.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what else would you share with people about this book? Like, what is one of the most surprising things that you feel like you have heard, or that has kind of come from writing this book about branding?
I'm always the most surprised when people in industries I never expected take value away from what I've written. Because I think deep down, I do feel like I have pretty intense imposter syndrome. Like, I'm a real estate agent. Like, what am I doing writing a book about branding products in Asia? Like, who am I as an authority that way? And I think I definitely get nervous about, having written now like 3 books and having put myself out there so much. And so I'm always surprised when someone reached out to me this morning, who got the book. It came out last week, came out 5 days ago. And they read the whole thing in a day. I'm like, damn, is it that short? But they're like, they practice matrimonial law, and they read it because they've got good proof of concept, but obviously lawyers are salespeople too, right? So they want to attract more clients. They want to attract. How do they generate more leads from more lawyers to come and work for them? How do they build a big law firm? How do they scale so they're not the ones doing every single little meeting? And they said, book changed my life. Read it in one day. Thank you so much. I've been looking for something like this. I've never seen anything. I can't remember exactly how they said it, but it basically so tactical. And so, like, I think that's the biggest surprise, that if you don't think this book is for you, it's probably for you.
Well, we are so grateful for you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time. Well, you guys, he's literally driving all around New York right now.
Thanks for coming on this. We started this podcast in the daylight. It is now dark by the time the podcast is over.
I feel like I owe you for a tour. Like, I just am going to send you money for this New York tour.
We started uptown. We're now downtown together. I apologize that we did this on the road, but better now than never.
All good. It's so great. And you guys definitely go grab his book. I want to do a little book giveaway for the people listening. So I am going to buy 10 books for the first people who share this. So make sure you tag Ryan. Ryan, where can they tag you?
At Ryan Serhant, S is in Sam, ERHAN is in Nancy, T is in Thomas, for all you listeners everywhere. I would love it so much.
So tag Ryan, let him know what your biggest takeaway was from this podcast. I'm going to buy the first 10 listeners a book. And I am so grateful for you guys. Go check it out. We're going to put the link in the show notes to be able to grab the book, which you can buy the books, I'm sure, wherever you can buy books. And Ryan, thank you again for coming on. And you guys, until next time, earn your happy. Bye, everyone.